especially during the era with former Solicitor General Maxine Blackwell. Rest in peace. Now, whether people personally like Ms. Blackwell or not is a different conversation. Some people respected her, some people didn't. But one thing many people around Baldwin County could probably agree on: when it came to domestic related situations involving somebody already on probation, she was not going to play soft. In small towns, last name, they truly matter. Let's get into it. Let's talk about James William Pope IV, also known around Baldwin County as Will Pope, because over the years, his name has continued surfacing in community conversations connected to certain social circles, certain relationships, and ultimately discussions surrounding the unresolved death of Ronnie Reeves. Now, to be clear, this is not saying Will Pope has been charged in connection to Ronnie Reeves. That's not what this is. But when certain names continue coming up over and over in small town conversations, eventually people start asking, who are these individuals? What are their backgrounds? What kind of interactions have they had with the court system? And why do their names continue resurfacing nearly a decade later? So just like we previously started reviewing records involving his little brother Jackson Pope, new media began digging into Baldwin County court history tied to James William Pope IV. And once the paperwork started getting laid out in chronological order, the timeline gets very interesting. According to Baldwin County records, this all starts on March 30th, 2022 traffic stop involving speeding and no proof of insurance. The citation was issued by the Georgia State Patrol. Then, according to court records, an arraignment was scheduled for May 19th, 2022. But later, another entry appears, arraignment bench warrant, right? Court date February 9th, 2023. Meaning, somewhere along the line, the case escalated enough for a bench warrant situation to enter the picture before the negotiated plea and probation sentence. Then, on the same day of the alleged bench warrant arraignment, records show a negotiated guilty plea tied to speeding and no proof of insurance. That same timeline places James William Pope IV under probation supervision through Judicial Alternatives of Georgia, JAG probation. And if you're from Baldwin County, then you already know JAG probation ain't no joke. Weekly reportings, drug screens, classes, fees, violations. People lose jobs over JAG. People sit in jail over JAG. People violate over missed payments, missed classes, diluted urine screens, all kind of stuff. Then comes the Rules Nisus, April 17, 2023. And this Rule Nisus specifically states, report to probation supervision as directed. Meaning, according to the court records, they were already alleged violation issues tied to reporting requirements while he was under supervision. The hearing was set for May 18, 2023, with language warning that failure to appear could result in contempt findings, probation violation findings, and arrest warrants. Now pause right there for a minute. This means the timeline already reflects a traffic stop, bench warrant activity, probation supervision, and a Rule Nisus probation violation activity. Then comes August 2023. While still under the same JAG probation supervision, Will Pope catches a family violence order accusation. And historically in Baldwin County, domestic-related accusations, while already on probation, usually do not get treated lightly, especially during the era with former Solicitor General Maxine Blackwell. Rest in peace. Now, whether people personally like Ms. Blackwell or not is a different conversation. Some people respected her, some people didn't. But one thing many people around Baldwin County could probably agree on: when it came to domestic related situations involving somebody already on probation, she was not going to play soft. That was the reputation, which is why these records stand out to people now. Because according to the paperwork, instead of the family violence related accusation immediately moving straight toward prosecution while he was already under probation supervision, the case gets dead docketed. Now, what is a dead docket? A dead docket does not mean somebody was found innocent, and it does not mean the charges disappeared. It basically means the prosecution stops actively pursuing the case for the time being while still leaving the charge sitting there unless it later gets formally resolved. Now, in this case, the dead docket order specifically included a no contact condition involving the alleged victim. Then comes another Rules Nieces, December 2023. This time involving failure to comply with court order fines and fees. The hearing was scheduled for February the 8th, 2024. And just 4 days after the Rules Nieces hearing on the 8th, February the 12th, JAG Probation closes the case successfully. And eventually, in August 2024, the family violence related accusation itself gets null pros, meaning the prosecution formally discontinued the case. But here's another part of the paperwork that I noticed. The dismissal document appears to allow the charge to be restricted under Georgia law instead of remaining publicly attached to his criminal record, meaning the paperwork appears to open the door for the case to effectively be removed from public criminal history visibility instead of remaining openly attached to his record. So when people look at this entire sequence together, traffic stop, bench warrant activity, JAG probation, Rule Nieces violation, a domestic rated accusation while still under probation, dead docket status, another Rule Nieces violation, successful probation closure, null pros, and possibly removal from public criminal record history visibility. That's where the public start asking questions about consistency. Now again, the point here is not saying somebody should automatically be convicted. The point is this: a lot of regular people in Baldwin County believe if they had a bench warrant activity, probation violation, Rule Nieces filing, and then caught a domestic related accusation while already under JAG supervision, their outcome may not have ended with dead dockets, quiet dismissals, and possible removal from public criminal history visibility. And as new media continues digging deeper into the unresolved death of Ronnie Reeves, certain names continue surfacing in community conversations surrounding that era, that social circles, and the events connected to that fatal night in October 2017. Names like Christian Ledberger, names like Jordan Sanford. Not because public records prove they committed anything related to Ronnie, but because in small towns, people remember friendships, proximity, relationships, school circles, and who was around during certain moments in time. And nearly 10 years later, those same names still continue coming up in conversation surrounding the untimely death of Ronnie Reeves. We got more details coming, plenty more. I'm Lamar King Sr., investigative analyst in new media, where the truth will never be silenced. Be great today. Peace.